A fish, a turtle, a wild boar, then a human. Does this list remind you of something? Yes, evolution. But this list was written 5,000 years ago, long before Darwin, in the ancient texts of India. So is this a coincidence? Or did someone discover evolution thousands of years before Darwin? Today I'll show you traces that look remarkably like evolution in writings composed 3 millennia before him. What you're about to see will surprise you. Now let's dive into this 5,000-year-old mystery. Welcome to my channel, Discovery of the Mystery, where we will uncover the secrets. Imagine a world that has never heard of Darwin's book. No natural selection, no common ancestor. And yet people still observe, everything changes. Time quietly pulls things up from beneath the earth. The old dissolves. The new emerges as if it had always been there. Ancient India noticed this early on. Change was everywhere. And this change wasn't just about bodies or species. It was the rhythm of the cosmos, the structure of society, the slow unraveling and reweaving of the self. That's why we face a fascinating question today. Did these ancient texts truly anticipate the idea of biological evolution? Or are we reading them through modern lenses, seeing what we want to see? To ask the question fairly, we should first draw a simple frame. What science calls evolution is the change in living populations across generations. 3 forces drive it: random variation, the inheritance of those variations, and the tendency of the better adapted to leave more offspring. At its core lies the concept of the common ancestor, a single branching tree underlying all diversity. It's not a planned ladder, nor a moral ascent toward better. It doesn't speak of steps designed by a divine hand. It's about small differences in vast stretches of time. Those differences accumulate and shape direction. The transformations described in ancient texts, however, often belong to a different realm. Purification of the soul, cycles of ages, the gradual emergence of hidden potentials in nature, or the moral transformation of society. All describe change, but not necessarily biological change. Still, a shared pulse runs through them. The world is not static. Our roots are tangled with questions. No one fully knows the beginning, but the process of change unfolds before our eyes like a law of existence itself. One of ancient India's most remarkable maps of thought is Samkhya. It divides reality into 2 principles: pure consciousness and nature. Nature holds within it hidden possibilities. When equilibrium breaks, these possibilities emerge in an ordered sequence. First, a kind of cosmic intelligence, then the sense of self, then the seeds of perception and the material world. Each stage follows the previous, like a closed bud unfolding its petals in perfect order. This isn't natural selection as Darwin described it, but it powerfully conveys 2 ideas. Change is gradual, and complexity can arise from the flow of simpler principles. Nature is not a miracle exploding in a single act. It is a controlled, self-unfolding movement. The meaning of inherent potential is simple. Qualities already present in nature, yet unseen, waiting to appear in their own time. Let's return to the long arc narratives of the Buddhist tradition. In the Aggañña Sutta, there is a striking scene about how humans change across cosmic cycles. At first, beings are lighter and radiant. What they eat is pure, and their choices are easy. Then food spoils, bodies grow heavier, dispositions shift, conflict arises, disagreement expands. People set rules, draw boundaries, and eventually choose someone and grant them the authority to rule. This is not a scheme of biological evolution. It's a moral and social one. Change unfolds not in genomes, but in habits, behaviors, and institutions. Yet the same pulse beats, We are not today what we were yesterday. As hunger grows, order emerges. As order takes hold, new tensions sprout. Those tensions invite yet another order. The process is not rigid. It draws its meaning from human actions, desires, and fears. The Jain tradition lets us feel diversity on a vast stage. It speaks of a universe in which beings are reborn, wander, rise, and fall in countless forms. A number often cited is 8.4 million different forms or paths of existence. This is not a strict classification in modern biology, but it says this: life is not a single appearance walking a single line. It tries on countless garments. There is an endless circulation between what resembles the human and what does not, between light and darkness, power and deprivation, joy and suffering. This circulation does not map out common ancestry or natural selection in the modern sense, but with a strong intuition, it works the truth that life is never confined to one form. Amid all this, another claim circulates: the 10 avatars of Vishnu. It begins with a fish, continues with a turtle and a wild boar, reaches a threshold in a half-human, half-animal figure. Then comes the dwarf, the hero, and the rest. In some modern readings, this sequence has been turned into a silhouette reminiscent of vertebrate evolution. It begins in water, emerges onto land, approaches the mammal, and reaches toward the human. This reading is appealing but risky because these narratives, in their own context, were never intended to write a biology textbook. What we have is a mythic choreography staging the preservation of sacred order, justice, and cosmic law. Looking back today, we are inclined to lay our familiar frameworks over everything. We place the map on the landscape and then say, "Look how similar it is." Yet similarity does not always mean kinship. Still, the analogy did not arise from nowhere. The mind seeks order. The passage from under the water to the land leaves a deep imprint in human memory. From here, the question gets sharper. Do these texts really open a door that heralds biological evolution? Or do they open the door to a completely different world? In Samkhya, the unfolding is not a matter of selection. It is the gradual emergence of qualities already present in nature. In the Buddhist narrative, the evolution of society is not a genetic change. It is the cumulative outcome of moral choices over time. In the Jain tradition, the circulation between forms is not a family tree. It is existence-changing outfits. And the sequence we see in Vishnu's avatars is the return of justice and cosmic balance on a mythic stage. So the honest answer should avoid both extremes. Saying it's the same would be reductive. Saying it has nothing to do with it would ignore these intuitions. Attention! Here comes the most critical point. Today we know evolution. We read genomes. We study fossils. Then we look back at ancient texts and say, look, evolution is here too. But is that fair? Perhaps we are viewing the old text through our modern lenses. Perhaps we are reading things that aren't there. So what do we do now? Do we look for a single answer? Number, because the greatest clarity comes from accepting a plurality of answers. Ancient India gives us one map. Modern science gives us another. What do we see when we overlay them? Sometimes the lines match, sometimes they don't resemble each other at all, and that's normal. The human mind loves analogy. When we place a fish swimming in water next to a human stepping onto land, something stirs within us. The turtle shell evokes the harshness of the earth. A half-human, half-animal figure marks the pain of the threshold. These images don't teach a biology lesson, but they convey the spirit of change. Now let's go back to the beginning and say it more plainly. Change in these texts is real. Stasis is a brief illusion. As people eat, their bodies change accordingly. As they build a social order, their conflicts take shape accordingly. As nature discloses its inner potentials, the world turns into a picture with that many layers. So how far does this picture meet scientific evolution? The meeting point is not in the exact meanings of the words, but in the tendencies of the mind. Process is the shared word. There is accumulation, there are stages, there is a role for time, there is doubt about the beginning, and there is the fact that nothing appears in a single step, but layer by layer. These intersections are not the same as the mechanical details of the scientific theory, but they carry the seeds of a discipline of thought, avoiding absolute claims, classifying what is observed, and seeking a pattern behind what appears. The most delicate point is this: our urge to impose the language of our own time onto ancient texts. Today we know a complex theory. We understand how evidence accumulates, how genomes leave their traces, how fossils keep their silence. That knowledge acts like a magnet when we look back. It pulls to itself the verses, myths, and mystical images of distant ages. Yet a fair reading requires both: to set aside our modern tools and not to distort the intentions of the past. We must listen to old texts within their own questions and purposes. In that world, the human being did not ask only how in the face of the cosmos, but also why and for what. Modern science is the triumph of the how. Ancient wisdom gathers the why and the for what. These two ways of seeing need not cancel each other out. Together, they expand the horizon of the mind. When telling a story like this, curiosity must stay alive. Because this isn't just an academic debate, it's also a personal question. Who am I and where do I come from? When we chase the one and final answer, our shoulders sink. Yet the greatest clarity sometimes lies in accepting the plurality of answers. The texts of ancient India don't give us a single line, but a rich map, a philosophy in which nature unfolds and consciousness observes, an intuition where society reshapes itself through moral choice, a sense that life journeys from one form to another. Modern biology speaks in another corner of that same map, with its own precision, variation, inheritance, selection. When we lay the two side by side, their lines don't always align. But sometimes striking parallels appear. Declaring those parallels as proof is hasty. Dismissing them as meaningless is prejudiced. The right stance is to describe them honestly and respect the borders of both worlds. We said the human mind loves analogy. That's why when people see images comparing Vishnu's avatars to evolution, many smile and say, yes, there's a kind of flow. There's no need to erase that smile, only to place it rightly. It's a beautiful analogy. It opens thought, but it is not proof. It sets us on the road. It doesn't show the destination. Now let's return one last time to the first question. Did ancient India have an idea of evolution before Darwin? If we use evolution in the strict sense of modern biology, the answer is no. We find no theory explaining natural selection's mechanisms, no experimental or observational account of common ancestry. But if we mean change, process, gradual unfolding, multiplicity, and transformation, the answer leans strongly toward yes. Yes, in these lands, in these texts, in these minds, change was sensed as a law. It was layered, crafted, carried patiently through story and philosophy. There's no need to call this tradition science, nor to belittle it. The truest approach is to invite them both to the same table, not as teacher and pupil, but as equals, listening to one another. Here lies the heart of it all. The human mind is the child of its own time. Today we read the world with biology's toolbox. Yesterday's people spoke through the language of poetry and philosophy. We gazed at the same sky. We wrote in different alphabets. Change was the letter common to both. Understanding evolution is not possible only in the laboratory. It also comes from listening to humanity's own history. Because the roots of a modern concept may hide in a verse written thousands of years ago. Seeing those roots doesn't make the concept grander. It makes us more humble. And that is the greatest gain of all, to strengthen our knowledge not with the certainties of others, but with the questions they dared to ask. It's no longer a race to see who said it first. The real task is learning to speak the language of change. Science gives us the grammar of that language. Ancient texts expand its vocabulary. Read together, they turn the world into a more complete picture. One reminds us of the how, the other of the why. Hearing both, we understand not only the past but also our own place in it more clearly. Because the human story belongs to neither a single book nor a single age. The story has changed itself, and it is still being written. So I ask you, is this resemblance truly a coincidence? Or did the human mind thousands of years ago observe nature closely and arrive at similar conclusions? Perhaps the idea of evolution was not Darwin's invention, but humanity's shared discovery. Perhaps the ancient sages saw with the naked eye and with patience what we now see through microscopes. Or perhaps when we read ancient texts through modern lenses, we see things that aren't there. Which do you think is true? Please share your thoughts in the comments. And if you enjoy mysteries like this one, don't forget to subscribe, like the video, and turn on notifications for more deep dives into the unknown. See you in the next mystery.